You start talking about business credit. This can, if you have tarnished business credit, this can hurt you immensely. I'm going to give you an example. So we had a guy come to us, and I'll put this in blue since we're talking about American Express specifically. So we had a guy come to us, and he had an Amex. Now, with this Amex, on the Amex, he only had about an $8,000 limit. However, he ended up defaulting on this Amex. Defaulting, he just stopped paying the Amex, and the Amex ended up going into collections. Now, with this card going into collections, it now puts a red flag over the entire business. And so now that he has a red flag on that business, that hurts him from going in and applying for different types of funding at different institutions, because at the end of the day, they're looking at that name or that defaulted account being attached to his business name, right? So obviously, you go into a situation and you're in a space where you're trying to go out and get funding, but you technically can't because your account is now tied to an account that has had a default. Now, Jerron, what would you recommend in that situation? All right, so I want to write it down because I think this is a really good scenario and topic for you guys. All right, so we're in this situation, and let's call it, just so I don't put all of his business out there, let's call it Alfonso Enterprises. So we got Alfonso Enterprises, and he's in a situation where he has an Amex, and it was an $8,000 Amex. However, again, as I mentioned, the Amex has been defaulted on. He has not paid it, and it's now gone into collections. Well, this collection now affects the actual, watch this, business credit score of his company. So it affects the business credit score. Now, another thing that you guys will see is that when you're talking about cards that are personal guarantor cards, right? Meaning you had to put your social security number up for the card. You had to actually serve as a personal guarantor on the card, right? You had to put your social security number up. You made yourself liable for the card. So if you default on the card, they're going to come after you technically. Well, in this instance, you actually have, two negatives, a double negative, because it affects the business, but then it'll also come and affect your personal credit score. Now, institutions operate differently because some may send it directly to your personal credit immediately. Some may take 2 months. Some may take 6 months, right? Because one of the other things that I want you guys to know as well, this is a great credit tip for you guys. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Phenomenal. Yes, phenomenal question. One of the things that I want you guys to know is that institutions actually have to pay. It's going to blow your mind. So banks actually have to pay to report to credit reporting agencies. They have to pay. So every last one of your banks, favorite bank, non-favorite bank, whatever, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, PNC, M&T, Truist, all of these banks, they have to actually pay Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. They're paying them to report, which is why you see some people may have a higher credit score than others. Well, why does this person have a higher credit score? Okay, because that bank that they defaulted with actually does not report to TransUnion. They only report to Experian. That bank that they defaulted with does not report to TransUnion. It only reports to Equifax. So you have a fluctuation in score. And so that's something that I want you guys to keep in mind. But again, if you default on a business card, it can affect your business or will affect your business, but it also can and will eventually affect your personal score. So that's just something else to keep in mind. All right, now, when you come here, you have this collection. Now, Jerron, Jerron, I know you talk a lot about solutions, man. What would be the solution that you would go with here? Now, in this instance, he has two directions that he can go in. he can actually go in with American Express and try to figure out what type of settlement they can come up with in order to have him on track where he can either pay this off, pay this down, and somehow reconcile this $8,000. Man, Bank of America, how can we reconcile this $8,000? Is there any way that we could get this removed from my business credit report? Getting it removed from your personal credit report probably won't be as hard. However, the main factor that you want to look at is getting it off of the business credit report. Because again, if I am an institution and I come to you and I'm in a situation where you are reaching out to me because you want funding, I'm like, yeah, don't mind giving you funding, but at the same time, like, is there a reason why you did not pay these people their $8,000? You know, is there a reason why they do not have their $8,000? Right? These are things that you want to keep in mind. All right, because who wants to lend to somebody that is not being honorable when it comes to actually paying out their money? Now, the next thing, as far as a solution. In this space, you've defaulted, you have a card right here, and you did not pay them their money, but you're trying to go out and get funding. Another thing that you can do, because again, on this channel, all we're talking is solutions. You have this. The next thing that you can do is you can simply, man, just go and create another LLC. Now, you go create the other LLC. Now, there's multiple things that I want to give you right here. You created the LLC, and you simply, let's say, I'm just keeping the name simple. You go out and you create Alfonso LLC, right? You go create Alfonso LLC. Now, in this instance, remember, if your personal credit is clear, then you won't have anything to worry about, because perhaps you got this reconciled. Perhaps they didn't report it to your personal credit, whatever the case may be. All right, you're clear as long as your personal credit is good. However, here's something that I want to give you guys. If you are going out and you are applying for funding on your own, if you're applying for funding on your own, you never, and I repeat, never, ever, ever want to apply for funding and go back to the same bank that you defaulted with. I don't care if your credit score went from a 580 to a 980. If you did not do right by that bank, do not go back to those people asking them for anything. And I mean anything. Don't go back asking them for nothing, because you're not gonna have a successful process. It's not going to be a successful journey. You're not going to get approved, because although you have reconciled, you've gotten your credit together, your credit has now become a 1,000 out of 100 out of 0, right? You now got this 1,000 credit score, and you say, I'm gonna go back to American Express and they're gonna approve me. No, they're not. They're not going to approve you, because they still internally in their system can see that you did not do right by them. And so again, just having the knowledge. What did King Solomon say? And all that get understanding. You got to have the knowledge in order to be successful. So if you default with American Express, don't go back there. If you default with American Express, go to Wells Fargo. Default with Wells Fargo, go to Bank of America. Default with Bank of America, go to a local credit union. You defaulted with a local credit union, go to a regional bank. Defaulted with a regional bank, maybe you need to come sit down with me so we can figure out what in the world is going on and why you keep defaulting with these people. But, man, you just want to be wise, and you want to be shrewd when it comes to navigating the whole component, if you will, of applying for funding. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.